So now that we've set up most of our server, the next step is to start our client VM and begin to set that up. So I'm going to start my client VM here and just wait for that to boot. It's really important that when you're using Windows 10 you don't use a home version but rather a professional or education version, one that allows you to connect it to a domain. Some of the home versions won't allow you to connect to a domain because it isn't built for that instance. We've already run the setup, so I'm not going to press to boot from any CD or DVD, or it'll proceed to try and reinstall Windows over the current virtual hard drive. Once Windows is booted, we'll get the setup screen, so we'll proceed for the UK. And then UK again. We won't add a second keyboard. You'll proceed through this like any normal Windows installation. We won't have a network to connect it to, so we'll click I don't have internet, particularly if you're doing this in a lab environment. We'll click continue with limited setup. This will allow us to make an offline account. I'm going to call mine administrator or admin. So in Windows I'm going to call mine admin, click next, and then give it a password. For now I'm going to give it the same password as my server. I'm just going to give the same answer to all these security questions, given this isn't a real PC that I need to be concerned about. And then I'm going to proceed by just clicking no on all these extra features. This is an older version of Windows 10, so I'm going to click no to Cortana. And then we're going to wait for it to set itself up. You'll see it will show a screen saying that it's preparing everything. And when it's completed this process, it will show you the desktop. Whilst it's in the process of doing this, we're going to now boot up our server. Remember, we set up our server on this network using the same internet adapter on an internal only network so that it will be able to hand out DHCP addresses. If the server isn't powered on, then it won't be able to give our client the address that it needs. It's one of the first things we need to check, so it's important that the server is running when it comes online, and then we can verify that the connection between the two is indeed working. Now you can see that my Windows server is booting up here and my client PC is here. Here we are, my server is on and my client PC is on. We don't have to sign into the server, it should already be running in the background, but just so that we can see it setting itself up, I'm going to log into that. Now here on my client PC, I should be able to go into my network and internet settings, and then I should be able to go and view my adapter. You'll see here that it hasn't picked up any DNS servers or IPv4 addresses, which means that there is an issue in the connection between this PC and the server. This can be a number of things. It could be simply that we've configured the virtual driver wrong, or it could be that our server isn't handing out DHCP addresses as it should be. The very first step in troubleshooting will be to go to your network settings, verify that both of them are connected to the same internal network, Mine's just called INTnet, although you can call this your company name. And they both allow VMs, so that's not our issue. The first thing I'm going to go to is Server Manager to troubleshoot this, and go to my DHCP service, as this is the service that will hand out addresses. I see there's a few error and warnings, so it says here, the DHCP service on the local machine has determined that it is not authorized to start. Okay, it is running though, so let's take a look at that. If we go to Tools and DHCP, we'll be able to go and have a look at our scope. Now, I already start to see some error signs. This little red arrow means that it's not serving IP addresses on IPv4. The scope, let me check, is activated, and DHCP4, IPv4 is fine. So let's go up to the server, right click, and it's not been authorized, so we're going to authorize this server to hand out addresses. Now we're going to just refresh IPv4, and great, it's got a green tick, so this means that it should now be handing out IPv4 addresses. This might not automatically configure on your client machine. We can check quickly by trying to ping the IP address of the server, and you'll see that the ping transmit failed. So what we're going to have to do is do ipconfig, and we'll release the current lease that it has, and then we will renew it. This will attempt to get a new IP address from the DHCP server. And there we go, you'll see there, it's now picked up an IPv4 address of 10.0.0.50, which is where we set the scope to begin. So now we should be able to ping our server. And perfect, we get a reply from the server. The next thing I'm going to do is just make sure that I can access my help desk software from the client PC. Some might not show up for it if you search for it. However, if you go to the start menu and scroll all the way to the bottom, it should be there. And we want the control panel. This will allow us to start the Apache server. Remember, we need the MySQL server for the database behind it as well. Now, this shouldn't work immediately. If this works straight away, then you might have an issue with your firewall being off. But if I go to my server's IP address, then we should get the connection failed error. To fix this, we need to go on our server and go to the firewall. Now, in a typical real-world scenario, we wouldn't allow such an all-encompassing inbound rule, but for the purposes of this practical, it's okay. So we're going to go to inbound rules, new rule, program, and then we're going to go to the C drive, XAMPP, Apache, bin, and then we're going to look for the httpd.exe. This is what hosts the web page. We're going to allow the connection, and then we're just going to name it help desk website, something like that, so that you know what it is. You'll see it shows up there, and that should apply instantly. So let's just go over here, and you'll see it's already reloaded. It says Blue Day help desk, and we're able to click open a new ticket, and it looks like that's all working, so that's great. Now we need to finish configuring the rest of our server. In the last section, we made 3 folders in our share drive. So in the C drive, we made a shares folder, then we made MISC for things like our wallpapers, and then we made the general management and the policies and procedures folder that's required in the Pearson specification. So we're going to right click each file, go to properties, and then we're going to go to the security tab, and then we're going to edit the permissions by clicking advanced. And then here we go, we can see that all Blue Day users can read and execute, and all Blue Day users have special access. First of all, we're going to disable inheritance, and then we're going to go change to explicit inheritance. We're going to remove all of the Blue Day users, and we're going to add the different OUs. So we'll click select principal, and we'll click general, we'll enter general staff, we'll check the names. It's not found that in our OU, so we'll just do general, and it's still not found that. That's my bad because it's the folder that's called general. So junior staff, it says in the specification, should have full control. So we'll click full control there. That applies all of them. We'll click OK. Then we would want to add managers. Select principal, type in managers, management, potentially. What did we name it? Manager, manager. There we go, manager staff. We want the security group, not a specific member. Click OK. That's full control. And finally, director staff. Again, we want the security group, so we'll click OK and full control. We'll click apply and OK. Now I'm going to repeat this for the management one. We're going to go to security, advanced, disable inheritance. Then we want to remove all of the Blue Day users, and we only want to add junior staff on a read-only basis. So read and execute list phone, read and write is not ticked, so we'll click OK. Then we want to add the management staff. So manager, staff, the security group again. And this one we want them to have read only as well, so we'll leave it as it is. And then finally we'll add the directors, who should also have full control. So we'll click full control and OK. We'll apply these permissions, click OK and OK again. And finally configure the policies and procedures folder. For this folder we'll go to security once again, click advanced, disable inheritance and remove all of the users. Junior staff are to have no access, so we don't need to add those. Manager staff, however, do, so we'll add those, and that's a read-only permission again. And then director staff are supposed to have full control. So click OK, apply, and OK. Next, we need to right-click the general folder, properties again, and go to sharing. And then we need to click advanced sharing. Share this folder, we'll name the share general. And then click apply and OK. You'll see it's got our Blue Day server / general. We need to repeat this again for the management and the policies one. So sharing, advanced, share this folder, apply, and OK. And finally, policies and procedures, sharing, advanced, share, apply, and OK. Now all of our permissions for our shares are set up and they are shared on the network. It's worth noting for our wallpapers to work, we'll also have to repeat this. We'll go to security, advanced. We'll just disable inheritance, remove the Blue Day users, and then we'll add all the users again. And we'll give them every control but to write. As long as they can read the contents of this folder, we'll be able to use the wallpaper and things like the software that's in there. We'll also share this folder. And click close. Next, we're going to set it up so that the drives automatically map themselves. So we're going to go to something called group policy. Potentially it'll be under administrative tools. There we go, group policy management. Now we're going to go into our domain. And then we're going to right click it and create a GPO in this domain and link it here. We're going to call it drive mappings. This should automatically drive the map the drives to the accounts when users log in. If we expand on the domain here, you'll see we've got it. Next, what we'll do is we'll first make sure it's enforced. We'll click OK. It's now enforced for everybody. And then we will also apply it to every user on the network. This could be more targeted in future. And next we'll go to settings. Just click add. And we'll go to user configuration. We'll right click it, click edit, and it'll bring up a new window. And now we can go to user configuration, we can go to preferences, then we can go to Windows settings, drive maps, and it'll bring up this page here. Now we can right click, new, map drive, and then we can set the location as / blue deer -DCO1 / general. That was our first folder. I'm going to assign this as drive G, and then in the common tab we're going to click item level targeting, and then we're going to target the junior staff, the manager staff, and the director staff. The way we'll do this is by clicking new item, organisational unit, and then we can find it by clicking the 3 dots, so junior staff there, and then we can add another organisational unit for, not that one, sorry, for the managers, and then we can add another organisational unit for directors. Then instead of it being and for each of them, we're going to change it to or, as nobody will be in all 3 of the groups, and then click OK. Now we'll click apply, and then we're going to want to repeat this for all of the other ones. So new map drive, we're going to go to blue deer -DCO1 / management. We're going to label this as M for management, although it's not practical to do it this way. Go to common, item level targeting, and then we're going to add all of our organisational units again. And then change our item options to or. Click OK, apply, and OK. And then next we're going to add the policies and procedures. We can do this by pressing these 3 dots instead of typing it in. So I've just set up my targeting, hit apply, and click OK. And now you can see I've got my general management and my policies and procedures one all in my network drive policy. For now we want to test that works, so I'm going to close out of this. And if you right click and refresh, you'll see now that our map drives show up here in our user configuration, so we can close out of this. And now we're going to minimize our server and go back to our client machine. We're then going to go to settings, and we're going to begin to join the client virtual machine to the domain. So we're going to go to system, go to the about tab, and then in newer versions of Windows it has a button for joining a domain, but for this one it's renamed this PC Advanced. And then it says here, to use a wizard to join a domain or work group, click network ID, or to rename this computer or change its domain. So we'll click change domain, and then we're going to put in bluedeer.local, hit OK, and we'll see that it's not found the Active Directory domain controller. So some troubleshooting. First, what we're going to try is pinging the server, which we did before, so we should know that this works. So we'll open command prompt, and in command prompt I'm just going to ping 10.0.0.1, and we get a reply, so we know the DNS server, the domain name resolver service, is working. Now we'll try and ping the domain. Aha, so it should be ping bluedeer.local, and let's see if we get a response. Okay, so it couldn't find it. So the first thing to check will be our forward lookup zones. We have one for the server, but we need to make an A record for the actual parent domain. So we won't give it a name, and we'll set the IP address to the same as our server and add the host. click OK. And then let's just try again, see if we can ping it without having to flush everything. Okay, now we get a reply from the server. That's good. Let's see if that fixes our ability to join the domain. If this doesn't fix it, then I suspect that when we propagated the domain, some of the records weren't created properly. Okay, so we can't. So, actually, I know this already because in the forward lookup zones, there should be already a new one that was actually created when we set up the domain. Sometimes this fails, and in this case, it has failed. But generally, this should be made by Windows itself. We'll right-click forward lookup zones, make a new zone, a primary zone, leave these as the default, and it has to be named exactly this, underscore msdcs.bluedeer.local, hit next and finish. And then if we look in this one, it looks the same for now. And then we're going to say net stop, net logon, and then net start, net logon. This is the service responsible for propagating all of the files in here. Now we're just going to reload this. So we've reloaded it. We'll close out of these, and ideally now, go back to our client PC, click domain, click OK. And there we go, it's asking us to log in now. So we need to go to bluedeer/administrator and enter our password. And then now we'll see that it identified the domain controller, but it couldn't be contacted. Common causes, a host A record that maps the name of the domain controller to the IP address is missing. Let's check. And yeah, that would be correct. So in the bluedeer.local one, I need to make a new A record for bluedeer-dco1 and assign that the same IP address, add host, and then hopefully without having to release and renew or flush the DNS, we should be able to join. Okay, so we're back to it asking for a login. I use my login for the server. Click OK. There we go. Welcome to the bluedeer.local domain. You must restart your computer. So close that and restart now. The client VM will now begin to restart, and then it will connect to the domain when it starts up. Let's just remember some of the users that we made before. So if we go to Active Directory users and computers, and then we should be able to log in as one of these. So manager staff, if we just remember. So the manager test account, if we go to account, we'll see that the user login name was mtest and the password was the same one as the administrator. So now, once our virtual machine boots up, the client one, we should be able to log in with those credentials. So it's booted up, and there we go, we can click other user, put mtest as the username, and the password that you set when you set up that account, hit enter, and there we go, it's correctly identified the first and last names from the Active Directory and pulled them down, and now it'll begin logging into that account. It may take longer in the first instance as it'll begin propagating all of the group policies that we implemented. Again, it's pretty normal for it to take quite a while. This has been running for a few minutes now, and it'll still be setting everything up in the background. And there we go, our client virtual machine has just launched her desktop and everything is beginning to load. And then the only group policy we set up so far are the drive mappings, so we can verify that by opening File Explorer and navigating to this PC. And there you can see we've got general management and policies and procedures. Now this is general, so we should be able to make a new folder. And it says you need permission to perform this action, which means that we haven't granted the correct privileges, have we? Let me just double check the specification. No, it should be read only. Should be full control, sorry. Let's just try the policies and procedures. That should be read-only, so this shouldn't let us write anything, and it doesn't. So what we're going to do is just test these files, shares that we made, and the permissions. So the general one, if we go to properties and security, we'll go junior, manager, and director full control. Okay, so that's okay. Go to sharing. Perhaps we need to update the permissions in here. So I've added manager staff and added allow to everything. I'm going to add directors and junior staff. Click allow for directors and juniors. Apply and OK. Apply and OK. Now let's just test this. New folder. There we go, and it's letting us make it. So we'll have to replicate that again across our other shares. So if we go to management again, everyone but the directors should be read-only. So if we go to advanced sharing, permissions, and all we need to add are the directors. Oh, sorry, director staff. And allow them full access. Everyone else is read-only. Apply that. And I've just remembered, sorry, for management, that the junior staff should have no access to this. So I'm just going to edit and click deny to everything. And then policies and procedures, this should be read-only for junior and managers. So advanced permissions, junior staff. In fact, they should inherently get read-only permission. Director staff are the only ones I need to add in order to provide them with full control. Click OK, apply, OK. Close, and now they should be OK and ready to go. The next thing I'll attempt to do is set up a standardized desktop according to the plans we would have made in the coursework. So I'm going to go to my group policy editor again. So here we go, group policy management. Then I'm going to create a new GPO in this domain. I'm just going to call it standard desktop. Hit OK. Click OK again. And now I'm going to right click and enforce it once again. Go to my settings. And then I'm going to go to user configuration edit. And then I'm going to go to user configuration. Go into policies, administrative templates. Then I'm going to go to desktop, desktop again, and then desktop wallpaper. Right click and edit that, click enabled. And then we're going to use a server path. So blueday-dc01 slash, and we called the share misc if you remember. And then let's just verify the name of the wallpaper. So misc, and then it was just wallpaper, and then let's just check what JPEG extension it is. JPG, and it's wallpaper.jpg. Hit apply and OK. And then I'm just going to try signing in to manager test again. And there we have it. Now that the group policy is updated from the server, our wallpaper has now changed. So we have configured the wallpaper and our drive mappings, and we only have a few more things left to do, which includes installing the required software and then setting up the shortcut icons for said software. We're just going to do some housekeeping things to make the system more realistic. So we'll go back into our group policy management console. And I've already just created a new GPO for a PC configuration. I have changed my security filtering to apply to only the domain computers rather than users. I've set it to be enforced in the domain. And now we're going to go into the computer configuration and edit that. Inside the computer configuration, we're going to go to the Windows settings. Once that loads, we'll go to the security settings. Inside the security settings, we're going to look for local policies, and then we're going to go to the security options. We're then going to look for one that says interactive login, and then it says don't display last signed in. So here we have do not display last username. We're going to define it and click enabled, apply, OK. Next we're going to go back to computer configuration policies, administrative templates, then to the control panel and the personalization tab. Now that we've done that, we can force a specific default lock screen and log on image. We'll enable that, and then we'll set it back to that same image that we set as our desktop background. We'll turn off fun facts, hit apply and OK, and then we'll close that, and we'll close that as well. After a restart of the server, you can see that the lock screen has changed on the server, and when we log in, it no longer suggests previously logged in people, and it just shows us a username and a password, which should in theory apply to the other PCs once they receive the update. This will be either when you log off and log back in, or restart the system, or do GP update /force. The next part of the coursework requires us to set up the backup procedures. So in the server manager, we can go to manage and select add rules and features, click next, select our domain controller, and then we can search for Windows Server Backup. To find that, we're just going to skip past without selecting any roles, scroll to the bottom of features, and then tick here Windows Server Backup, hit next, install. It'll start that installation, and then once it's done, we will continue. That's now finished, so we can close this dialog window. And we can find in Windows Accessories, there we have Windows Server Backup. And then we need to go to Local Backup. And then from here we can right click and go to Backup Schedule. Click Next. We can say Custom or Full Server. I'm going to go with Custom. And I'm going to go into my C drives and the Shares folder, tick that. Click OK. Next. I'll say once a day at 11:30 at night. And then we'll say back up to a shared network folder. And I'm just going to back up to my shared folder with my main PC, which is just there, /vbox server. I'm just going to go into here, just so I can remember that, /vbox server /unit. There we go, and you see it's picked it up there. Then we're going to use our administrator account. That will allow this to happen. Click finish, and it will now create our backup schedule, which will back up all of our shares. Remember, you could do this for the entire server if you wanted to. And I've just restarted the create backup schedule because of that error, and just used the correct credentials. There we go, you have successfully created the backup schedule. And now I can see down here, it'll go to my Blue Day share actually, and it will do it every day at 23:30. So now our backup is scheduled and configured correctly. We can close out of that.